we have columns, PII columns, right? So can we do to get a better sense of what this data is and what can we do with that and how we can use the lineage to help us make certain choices. So I have one more example in here. So I'm going to search for this table, and let's say here what I have is a driver name. Okay. Now I have a little prompt, which is I want to understand from PII perspective. So tell me about this PII call. How does it flow through? Which are the steps, right? Where this is going. So press enter here. Now I just want to kind of like get an understanding of, you know, I think everyone has one, really, a name or an address, you know, a date of birth, and this can help us massively, I think, to actually be compliant and understand really step by step, right, where this is used. Well, it's okay. Well, actually, it is a composite column, right? So this driver name comes from 2 columns upstream, which is the first name and the forename, surname here, first and last name. So it's going to help us to understand, okay, how is that PII generated, right? It's a combination of things. There's a join there. There's a combination of columns in here. What does it contain? Where does it use? Okay, is it traceable? Yes. It's a must. So that's the first problem, right? It's like, well, we actually have a potential issue that we have this column that across all our data pipeline, and it's not a must anywhere. There are multiple models. I have 2 consumer models. So if you go back and look at our graph here, it's actually say, okay, this here and that we have analytics and MAR. So we do have this analytics table that is consuming. It opens a question. Well, if it's analytics, does the analytics team needs a name? Like, what's the value with that, right? So we could, of course, go and modify these fields and this, but I can try. Let's give it a go and say, hey, there's some recommendation, right? And let's say then we all agree and say, okay, the analytics name should not access that column. That should be must, right? So it's okay. Can you anonymize this field when reaching the analytics drive performance trends.SQL model? So basically, I want to keep it intact, and just at the end, I want to apply some changes. So we can give it a go and see if we can get that, which is now kind of like looking at, I understand more about the models. I understand more about the column. I can see the driver name is there. I'll implement an hash-based anonymized approach that will create a consistent anonymized identifier. So I didn't spend too much time about what the hashing will be. I think these are the great plays, in my opinion, where, for instance, the rules have a big play, which is like defining for the agent what hashing mean in our word and how we should implement those. And kind of like not only using the column level lineage with Dynamite to inform us about things, but also try and explore how we can actually use it to do things for us. So I'm curious to see what the output of this now will be. But we're seeing scenario like this with our customer. We're seeing scenarios where, you know, you're renaming their column, but then that column is aliased later down the line. So a simple find and replace won't work, because you may be adding a suffix to that column and then you have a composite column afterwards. But you see, now let me just close this as well. So it's using a shard to then concatenate the driver with the hash value for us and create this anonymized value in here. So I think this is pretty awesome to be able to, on the fly, understand where these PII gaps are based on some of the columns we have, and then using Dynamite itself to implement those changes and again, giving all this information. What the beauty of this is that, of course, we can get this report. We can use this report and use some of the other feature we have in Paradime, might generate a pull request description. So all these additional artifacts that we generate as part of our work, we just send it to GitHub and say, hey, this is the change I've made. This is why I made it. All this information can be made available for auditing purposes. And I think this is where column level lineage using AI become extremely powerful for all these other use cases, which is not about finding where the column starts and where the column ends, but enriching our workflow with these capabilities that will just make our life easier.